Pleasant evening to one and all who have joined this virtual meet on the fourth day of the FDP program organized by the PG and Research Department of Mathematics, Holy Cross College, Trichy. Let us seek God's presence and blessings through prayer. Glory in His holy name. Let the hearts of those who seek the Lord rejoice. Look to the Lord and His strength. Seek His face always. Psalm 105, 3 to 4. Almighty Lord, you're able to turn the greatest hindrance into greatest good. Into your hands, we place everything our institution, our department, all our endeavors, our families, and especially this FDP program, the resource persons, and all the participants. We praise you, Father, so kind, for having betrothed us to your love. We ask this prayer in the mightiest name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. I place and record my sincere thanks to Reverend Dr. Sister Annie Xavier, Secretary, and Reverend Dr. Sister Christina Bridget for the opportunity and encouragement they have rendered in all our pursuits. With a blend of gratitude along with affinity, I welcome the person who is the cause and inspiration of this FTP program, who is none other than Dr. W. Rita, our beloved head of the Department of the PG and Research Department of Mathematics. Welcome, ma'am. With a sense of fulfillment, I welcome all the faculty of the Department of Mathematics, HCC, and the faculty from other institutions. Welcome all. With enthusiasm and eagerness and anticipation, I'm happy to welcome and introduce the resource person of today's session, Dr. Smitha Shankar, Senior Lecturer, King's Own University, Sydney, Australia. Ma'am has been in the academic part of the academic institution since 2001. She holds a master's degree in computer applications, MPhil in image processing, and her PhD in wireless networking. She has been a recipient of two scholarships, the Australian Postgraduate Award and Norman One Prize Award during the course of her doctorate program. She also has achieved the Telstra Award in Research Competition towards solving an industrial problem, and a special award, which is nothing but the Lenovo Award, for presenting her thesis in 25 words. She has presented in high ranking international conferences and journals. Her research interests include data transmission and cooperation in vehicle networks, security in IoT and cloud computing, cybersecurity, applications, and teaching and learning. We feel honored to have such an eminent personality amidst us to enlighten our minds on the topic artificial intelligence tools in teaching and learning. I extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am. With eagerness, I hand over the session to Dr. Smitha Shankar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, John Jayashree. Thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Thank you, ma'am.
And
Thank you
thanks
so
to
much.
Dr. Rita to welcome me as a resource person. Thank you for the opportunity. And thanks to Antonita, who has been communicating with me to make this session successful. Thanks to all of you. And before I could start, I would be honored to say that I was also a student of Holy Cross College from 1995 to 1998 batch. I did my Bachelor of Physics at Holy Cross College, and I believe Dr. Ann Xavier was the principal of the college at that time. I think I'm not wrong, but if I'm wrong, please do, accept my apologies. So thank you once again to everyone who has, invited me for the session and kindly accepted me as a resource person. So with that brief introduction, let me quickly jump into the topic for today, because I don't want to keep you waiting. You have been waiting so long for the last 20 minutes, and I don't want to take much of your time. And then we'll go to the presentations straight away. I would like to share my presentation. I hope you all can share, see my screen.
Yes, ma'am. The screen is
Okay.
visible, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
for that.
clearly.
All
Yes.
right. So, as you all know, today's topic AI tools in education and learning. So, a part of the overall FDP program. So, just a, 1.5, maybe 1.5 hour session, just to give some light on what are the different tools, AI tools, which is used in education and learning. Because I think the way the education and learning is going these days, because of all that pandemic that has been happening since 2019, I think this is becoming a requirement for academic organizations to move forward and place themselves in the emerging competitive market of academic institutions and or academic organizations. Because these days it's not like one or two branded ones or the best ones. It's like everywhere. Every street or every suburb or every district has got like so many of these academic organizations. So if we have to place ourselves in the market, I think it is required to have at least a couple of these tools which will engage both the instructors, the lecturers, professors, everyone, the instructors and the students. I think these tools are required to bring them together at some point of time. Otherwise, having talking for so long, for about almost 2 years, about this Zoom session, online session, web session, we don't know where we are and where the students are. The link has been lost. We can't really compare this type of an environment with the current, the face to face environment. So the face to face learning, it's one of the best and the effective method of learning, but that is no more there. Like we are losing our connection with the students. We are not there in front of the students to motivate them, to encourage them, to understand them, to know if they are really learning, to understand their levels of learning. We are not there with them. So this is what has been happening to me. Like for the last 2 years, we have been completely with online learning, and I don't really know the advancement that has been happening back home. I don't really know, but here it's all about online learning. Face to face learning is becoming obsolete these days. So the entire academic organizations are moving towards this online learning, and they are trying to get as many tools, as many methods as possible, mechanisms as possible, in order to make this online learning effective. So I thought it is necessary to give some insights on this, rather than picking a programming language and talking about that, or a particular software and talking about that. And I always have a feeling that 2 hours of a session or 1.5 hours of a session is not really enough to give you 100% knowledge, or 100% knowledge base of a particular software or a particular tool. Let it be a software or a tool, one single tool. So I thought, rather than discussing about one single tool, not sure if you're going to use it or if you're not going to use it, instead of doing that, if we collectively talk about some of them, which is actually building this education and learning block, it would be better as a part of FDP. That was the main reason for me to choose this topic for this FDP. So that was a brief introduction as to why I chose this topic. So with that introduction, let me quickly move to the key takeaways of this topic. We are going to look at what is artificial intelligence. We are going to understand artificial intelligence, and it's not a kind of long discussion, slide after slide. I'll just finish that concept in 1 or 2 slides, talking about why this artificial intelligence is important and what are the different subfields of artificial intelligence. And then we move on to different applications of artificial intelligence and unleashing the power of artificial intelligence for education. Artificial intelligence has got its application in hundreds of business. but we are not looking at that broader perspective. What we need today is how it can help in education. What does it have for education? What does it have for improving the learning of students? And what does it have to improve the focusing of the students when it comes to that learning barriers, and how instructors, how we can help students in a better way when it comes to learning. So we are going to focus more on the power of AI for education. That's where we'll be looking at some of the tools. As I said, it will be a very basic introduction to the tool, because I just want to get the understanding. I just want to share that understanding of the tools rather than sitting and explaining what that tool is all about, how we are going to work with that tool, and so on. Because it's just a start, and we are not really sure if you are aware of the tool. So let's create that awareness, and then that awareness will help you to decide and motivate whether that tool is required for you. I'm 100% sure out of the tools, that number of tools we are going to discuss, one or two will definitely catch your interest, and you might think that, okay, this would be one of the solution for improving education. We should be going with this one. We should be taking this tool for improving our education. So that's what we are going to see as a part of this discussion, and some benefits of AI in education and the tools of AI for education. So AI has got its application in many business, and education is one of them. So the target for me for today's session is AI in education. So that's what I'm going to say. So followed by the conclusion and some of the references which I would like to share. So when I was digging deeper into those tools, I saw that those links will be helpful. So I will share that as a part of referencing too. So to start with, what is artificial intelligence? It's about the simulation of human intelligence. So we know that as humans, we have different perspective. Each and every human, as a human, we have different perspective. No two human beings have got the same perceptions about everything they see, everything they feel, everything they look at. So what are we doing here with the help of artificial intelligence? It's a field which helps you with so many different subfields like machine learning, neural networks. We will look at that as well. So it helps with a lot of its subfields. It helps to simulate the human intelligence into machines. And once this simulation is done, machines can be programmed to think like humans and mimic their actions. So you need to put this in quotes. They can only mimic their actions. So if you are going to perform in a totally different way, the machine cannot pick that actions, because your perceptions keep differing depending on what you are seeing every time, what you are looking at every time, how you are feeling about something every time. But when we are going to do that simulation, we need to understand that there will be still a limitation. But the field of computer science is trying to use this human intelligence. And when you talk about simulating the intelligence into machines, that's again human intelligence. So only humans can do it. The simulation of machines, only they can do it. So how they are doing it? It's with their intelligence. So you are programming the machines in such a way that it can mimic your actions. And this is applied to any machine which can exhibit the traits of human mind. So let it be any field. Okay, for example, I say AI is used in surgery. How it is used in surgery? It's programmed in such a way that it can do the surgery like a surgeon. So that's where you are going to simulate that behavior onto that machine. So in every single application of artificial intelligence, this is what is happening. So the human mind is mimicked into the machine through a set of simulations. So with those simulations, the machine will have the ability to rationalize and take actions with the best chance of achieving a specific goal. See, it's the best chance. So you have number of different combinations, and you pick the best one to make sure that you reach that specific goal. So if machines do the surgery, what is the outcome? What percentage is successful? That depends on how it has been simulated, whether it has been simulated to achieve its best. So even if it's not simulated to achieve its best, and it doesn't reach that goal, it is justified. It says, oh, okay, it's still a machine, you can expect, it's still a machine, you can expect that. So it's not a kind of, you get that 100% result, there can be errors too. So that's about any applications, in computer science, because it's all about errors, it's all about trial and errors. But any decision that's taken by a machine with the help of this simulation, it will have the ability to rationalize, even if that decision, even if that goal it has reached is not what we wanted. If it has not reached a goal, still it can justify for not reaching that goal. So we end up saying, oh, it's a machine, it can make errors. But that's not the real scenario that we are experiencing. Okay, some of the subset of artificial intelligence. So when I say artificial intelligence, it
Ma'am,
has got a
excuse me, ma'am.
collection of so many different
Just a
fields.
clarification, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, we are just able to see the first slide, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
So we are
I
not
don't
able to
know
see
what's the
the next slide.
reason. Okay, can you see now?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible, ma'am.
Okay,
I thought
because
you
I
were
was
giving
I was using
introduction, so
slide
I was
share.
just
I was
waiting.
using the slide share. Maybe I will share it like this. I think that's better.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So now, understanding what this artificial intelligence is all about, we move to the different the subset of artificial intelligence. So when I say artificial intelligence, it has got so many different areas, or learning, so many different learning areas like machine learning, neural networks, evolutionary computation, and I'll quickly go through the list, and then I'll come back to explaining the concepts. Robotics, vision or computer vision, natural language processing. So these are some of the major subfields of artificial intelligence. But on top of that, we do have fuzzy logic, we have expert systems, we have speech processing, so many other subfields too. But these takes the priority. If you look at most of the applications, these aspects, or this a part of this subset is applied in any of the tools that we are going to discuss. So the first one is about machine learning. So this is where the programs will automatically learn and adapt to new data without being assisted by humans. So there is not much of human intervention required when any system that is developed using machine learning starts to work. So one best example I would like to take here is the Proctoru system. So Proctoru is an invigilation system. So we have used it for one of our exams. So I would like to explain about Proctoru, maybe when we are discussing about the tools used in learning and educational learning. So it's a kind of online proctoring system. It's a online invigilation system, because these days what has happened is all the exams have been converted to online exams. So we will not be in a position to sit and it's not like face-to-face exams where we walk around, invigilate students, make sure the students are not copying, make sure the students are not cheating. So we can't really do that, because face-to-face exams are no more existing. And now that the online exams are taking its priority, are we 100% sure that the students are not cheating? Are we 100% sure that the students are giving, their own work? How do we know that they are not copying? So how do we know that it's they are maintaining that level of information security or something like that? So in order to assist the education organizations or the academic organizations with such kind of proctoring or invigilation. We have this Proctoru, so we have used it to some extent. It has got its own limitations. I will talk about that later, but this is one example which applies machine learning. And neural networks, this is another subfield of artificial intelligence. So this basically replicates the human brain. We know human brain is, it has got an infinite number of neurons, right? And these neurons are connected with each other. And the way the neural networks applies this brain signals, it applies the concept of how the neurons work in the human brain, and that is applied to machine. So when there is any machine developed with the concept of neural networks, it will work according to the way the human brain is working. So as a human brain, you know your capability, right? You know your capacity, you know how your brain is working. So it will, even these systems or these machines will even go to the extent of recognizing handwritten characters. You can imagine handwritten characters, right? So if you are, you are all experienced with correcting student papers. Oh my god, some student papers are like, you need to learn how to read that paper. To that extent, the handwriting is like, seriously, we just pray god that we should be able to correct the papers. So if you think about that, you can think about that extent, right? Keep the worst extent. And then if you think, so any machine which is simulated with the help of neural networks, those machines do have the capability to recognize handwritten characters. So it can work to that extent. And another subfield is evolutionary computing. This is mainly used for complex optimization problems, mainly in the field of mathematics and so on, and also helpful for continuous optimization, where you need to solve problems with too many variables for traditional algorithms, and mainly applied in the areas of games and image analysis. So gaming these days, it's all about virtual gaming. So you need to understand the extent of programming or computation that's required in order to manage that virtual games and so on, online games and so on. And another field is image analysis. So that's some of the examples of where evolutionary computation can be applied. And then we have robotics. So these days, robotics is used, wherever you need that physical work, wherever you need designing, wherever you need, intelligent outcomes, information transformation, and especially in the field of medicine, robots are used for performing surgery. So that's one application area of robotics. And robotics is basically an interdisciplinary field of science and engineering. So when I was doing my PhD from University of Sydney, they had a robotic department. So it was interesting. They really work with the real robots, and they put it in the exhibition. They used to conduct an engineering exhibition. They used to show the working robots. It's a very interesting field of artificial intelligence, to see the robots working. And when I was teaching at Sydney Uni, I had my I was teaching the Bachelor of Physics students, where they were applying robotics in their lab experiments. So one group was actually doing they actually built a robot which was actually picking up the rubbish and putting it in the bins. It was, they were like second year students, but that was a kind of project given to them towards the end of the semester. So they had to work on it. It is interesting. So to see how they are working, and it really needs, that level of knowledge base. And then we have vision or computer vision. We can term it synonymously. So this is another subfield which enables machines to recognize, make sense, and respond to visual information. So let it be photos, let it be videos, or other visual inputs. It helps them to recognize that and make judgments according to that, or make analysis according to that. And one of the application is healthcare, again, viewing the images of patients. Patients do different types of scans, and you get the images. So this subfield, this application is used for understanding those images and trying to make judgments and analysis from those images. And then we have NLP, which is called as natural language processing. This is basically a field which enables machines to understand human language. And once the machines understand that human language, they can perform tasks like translation, spell check, or topic classification. And one best example would be chatbots. So we will be looking at a chatbot tool in education as we go, through the slides. So these are some of the most important subfields of artificial intelligence, which really has its application in today's, world. In today's digitally transformed world, AI plays a vital role with all of its subfield. So if you recollect, if you look at every single subfield and its application, you see that AI as a whole.
Sorry for the interruption, ma'am. Your voice is
Yes.
breaking, ma'am.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Sorry for the interruption, ma'am.
Yes, what happened?
Your voice is breaking, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Maybe I will put on my headset.
Yes, ma'am.
Give me a second. Right now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it audible?
Ma'am, you can continue, ma'am. It's fine, ma'am. Now, thank you, ma'am. Uh, yes, ma'am. You can, ma'am. You can unmute your audio, ma'am. Your audio is muted, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. All right. So sorry about that, interruption. Okay. So we just stopped with the different fields. If you want me to recollect, so we have like all these fields, and if you look at all these fields, you will see that the whole of artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence as a whole is based on the of principle that human intelligence works the best. All right, so it's all around the concept of human intelligence. So through the human intelligence, machine can easily mimic and execute human tasks from simple to the most complex, and it can mimic human cognitive activity. Let it be learning, let it be reasoning, and let it be perception. However, having said that, it's not a conclusion, like it's not a conclusion that AI can do everything. So when it comes to AI and application of AI, through human intelligence to machines and so on, it's still a kind of 50-50 among the public. Some believe that AI can be used to develop systems which can exceed the capacity of humans to learn or reason, but the remaining 50 of them remain skeptical because they know that any cognitive activity is tied up or it's laced with the value judgments which are subject to human experience. So even if the human brains can be mimicked, even if the human intelligence can be mimicked by a machine, the machine still has its limitation. So in order to explain further, I'll take one example of chatbox itself. Okay, we have the chatbot. It's a artificial intelligence based tool. That's for sure. But if you start chatting with the chatbot, you will see that you have to frame your questions accordingly. Otherwise, chatbot will not understand. There is a limit for the limit for the chatbot. If you are going to write long question and then ask, okay, what is the answer for this question, it cannot understand. It will simply say that I can't get your question. So you have to keep it like pretty simple and to the phrase, to the point. And if you don't know how to ask question to the chatbot, you will not get proper answer from the chatbot. So what can you see there? There is a limitation. So if you ask me, I go with the second half, being skeptical that cognitive activity is laced with value judgments, because it's all based on human experience. You cannot have a machine make work with that 100% or 200% close to a human brain, because our thoughts, our perceptions, or any of our cognitive activity it's totally based on what we feel at that second, at that millisecond of a time. But that cannot be incorporated, or that cannot be transferred onto a machine. So machine will definitely have its own limitation. But in current era, we can say that to some extent artificial intelligence tools will help. So these are the two groups of people who have their own beliefs about artificial intelligence. Some of them think that it can develop any kind of system to the capacity of humans, which can learn and which can reason. But some of them believe that no, that's not at all possible. We can't mimic a human behavior to its 100 or 200% onto a machine. It's not at all possible. So as I said, I definitely go with the second one, but I will not deny the applications of AI anyway, because it do have a lot of applications when it comes to especially education. Now that I am an academic, I feel that it is important. Some of the tools is really important for education. Having said that, it has become a world of pandemic. Okay. So some of the general applications that you can have from AI. So as I said, it has got endless applications. Let it be any kind of business, you can find an application of artificial intelligence. But having said that, we need to make it a point that the business or organizations are happy to take artificial intelligence into them. If they don't want to adapt it, then they are lost. They can't complain, right? Because if you want to know about the applications of artificial intelligence for your organization, then you need to adapt it, you need to know about it, you need to take it, you should be happy to accept it. But if you don't want that, if you don't want to adapt to those applications, then there is no complaint, there should not be any complaints from your side. So having said that, artificial intelligence applications is everywhere in any type of business. Let it be healthcare, health industry, let it be gaming, let it be self-driving, financial industry, every industry does have some application of artificial intelligence available. So when it comes to self-driving cars, it's all automated, and gaming is all about artificial intelligence, especially virtual games. And healthcare, artificial intelligence has got its application in providing, a dosage of medicines to patients, and it helps in surgery. And with financial industry, it helps in identifying unauthorized transactions. So there is an unauthorized transactions from your credit card or from your debit card. These kind of transactions can be easily identified if the banking organizations make use of artificial intelligence tools. Because at the end of the day, these tools or these applications, it's all about programming. The way the program work helps the tools to get things done. So it's all about human intelligence put into those machines. Okay, so we can't deny that it has got its applications, but having said that, it does have its limitations. It's kind of two sides of a coin. So no matter any type of application, it needs to weigh the consequence of any action they take as it impacts the end result. So any action that's taken by the machine is depending on the human behavior, because it's the human brain which designed it, human brain which simulated the machine. So the end result will be impacted if something goes wrong. So the consequence needs to be weighed. So there is always a trade-off. There is always a trade-off when it comes to applying these applications for any field of, any field in the business. Okay. Now, unleashing the power of AI for education. So this is what we are looking for. So whatever we had now, it was just a kind of introduction to artificial intelligence, because I assume that I have like so many participants here. I assume that there are, beginners who understand to learn different, areas of computer applications, and there are people from mathematics as well. So if I have to bring them together, because I can't jump in and talk about the extensive details of artificial intelligence. I can't do that. I have to start from the basic, because it's the mixed group of listeners here. So I had to frame my presentation or structure my presentation in such a way that nobody is getting upset with, oh my god, this is too much of details, I don't want to hear or I don't want to listen. So I just made it very, very basic. Okay, so now looking into education, because this is what we want, we are trying to look at what AI has for education. So it has got a major influence on the state of education today, and the implications are really, really high. It's very huge, because these days organization cannot withstand, because face-to-face learning has become obsolete, right? So they can't withstand with whatever, it's a lot of limitations rather than having tools or methods or techniques. So now academic organizations or academic institutions are running forward to find out what different tools they can have, what different methods they can have to improve the online learning. So I have experience, like when I was I did my bachelor's back home in Trichy. I did my master of computer applications in Trichy. I did my MPhil in Trichy. So that time I did not get a real good chance to, or I was not really exposed to, good webinars or good seminars. We didn't have that kind of an option that much. It was all about learning. It was all about going to classes. It was all about covering the lectures. It was all about doing the exams. It was all about scoring marks. But now, like within the last, and even like when I started teaching, that was not the case, except like some conferences that come that is being organized by the colleges or organized by the departments, where we get a chance to listen to some of the conference presentations or some topic of computer applications or computer science, whichever field. So those were the only options. But now I can see that once this pandemic has started,
academic institutions, academic organizations has started coming up with webinars on top of webinars. Let it be FDP or let it be any other kind of webinars. They try to organize more and more of webinars, and these webinars are being, you know, it is attracting the whole education community. And how this is happening? Because educational organizations are running to find something new in order to make this online learning possible. So it is important that something has to be taken into consideration in terms of what further is required, except, that just not, rather than just relying on that face to face teaching. That's just not enough. It's not at all enough, because the situation now, it's not allowing us to do it. We are happy with that. We were happy with that. We do know that face to face teaching is 100% teaching, where we have that student instructor in engagement, in terms of learning, and also in terms of teaching. But now that engagement is not there. We don't have that link between students and us. We are losing that link with all these online. So if you want to make that effective, you need to have some tools incorporated. You don't have to put everything, but at least a couple of them which can improve that education in a broader sense. So as such, AI has got a lot of potential to transform how education system operates. It has got a lot of potential to heighten the competitiveness of the institutions, and it can empower teachers and learners of all abilities, because we know as students, not all of them have the same capability. Not all of them are the same, are having the same pace of learning. Each student is different from the other. And as instructor, what is our responsibility? We need to focus on each and every one of them. We can't simply oh, you are not motivated to learn, oh okay, just ignore that student. We can't do that, because we are the ones who have to mold them. So we can't simply ignore a student who is slow in learning. But what can we do? With the use of these tools, we can try to focus on them better. That's what we are looking for. And that is, these tools are really important for that purpose. You can say that, okay, I can teach better. I don't want any tools. I can definitely teach better. Yes, we can do that. But if you want to focus on a particular, so if you are given a 50 minutes lecture, that's what we used to have, like, I don't know if there is any particular change with that time slot. When I was teaching, I used to have a 45 to 50 minutes lecture slot. So if I'm teaching for 50 minutes and I have like 60 students in front of me, I can't guarantee that I know how each and every student has got the capability of learning. What is their pace of learning? I can't. But when we have these tools, it will identify what is the learning pace of each student. It can easily identify when a student is struggling to do the work. And once it identifies, it is notified to the instructor, and that way what happens, the instructor try to focus more on that student. So now you understand the link. So what is happening, these tools, it's linking the student, especially the slow learning student, to the instructor. It's knocking the doors of the instructor. Hey, see, that student cannot do well. You got to focus on that student. So that's what it is doing. And these tools are necessary for us to identify the student who needs a better learning environment, who needs a better focus. You may have 60 students. Out of that, 59 students are doing good. But what about that one student? Are you able to identify that one student? Most of the time, we don't really fail. We may be able to identify, a maximum percentage of that, but we do have that limitation, we can't, we do have that limitation. But these tools do help us to get that done. So it's a kind of, adding to your capability. So I have this tool, I can identify all my students who are slow in learning. Are you not happy to say that for yourself? So when you say that, oh, you are not going to say that, oh, because of this tool, I was able to identify. You will never say that. You are going to use that tool to improve your, way of focusing on a particular student. So this is how AI will be helpful in education. So the tools that we are going to see, that's how it is going to impact the education environment or the education community or the education as a business. Okay, so let's quickly look at what are the tools. So as I said, we are just going to the fundamental, definitions or the ideas of what each and every tool is, because digging deeper, this is not the time frame to dig deeper. So you need more of it. You need to first identify the tools and then dig deeper, if at all, because you need to choose one or two and then dig deeper. So when we get a pool of tools, we know which one will be which one will be helpful for us in our learning environment or in our teaching environment. So to start with, I have altitude learning here. So this is mainly focusing on the schooling education. So but I know we belong to the higher education, but how does this altitude learning work? So it's also called as, it's synonymously called as alt school, which is a professional learning and software platform for the students to drive their own learning. So here it gives the students a learning platform, and then it takes the student through the learning cycle, starting from planning, engaging, assessing, and understanding the students' progress. So as an instructor, you can design assessment, you can start with the planning, you can help the student to engage, and you can help the student, you can assess the students based on their performance, and that way you will be able to identify and understand a student's performance. And this platform, it helps to design assessments for individuals and also groups. So you can design individual assessments, you can design group assessments, and you just put the learners on the driver's seat and ask them to take control of the entire assessment. So you are just going to assist them like a driving instructor. That's what I meant to say here. So you will be the driving instructor. You say, oh, okay, turn left, turn right, put the indicator, put the brake, apply the brake, slow down. So you are just going to tell them. And how you will tell them? Because you are able to see the progress on the tool. The tool will give you the progress, and you will be able to guide the student based on what you see in the progress. All right, so that's one such tool, and basically the platform is focusing on schooling education. And then we have GradeScope. GradeScope is a assessment and feedback platform. So I assume you are aware of Turnitin. So Turnitin is also an assessment and feedback platform. So basically Turnitin doesn't really help with designing assessments. It only checks for the similarity percentage of assessment. So when I say Turnitin, once the student finishes the assessment, the student has to upload the assessment, and once the student upload the assessment, it will give a percentage, similarity percentage, starting from 1%, 0%. So 0% to 100%. So if it is 0%, it means that the student has, for example, if it's a kind of referencing work. So any assessment, it's going to be referenced, right? So you might be looking at a lot of information. You have to reference that information. So if it is 0% to somewhere between 5% and 10%, it means that the student has not copied straight away from any web resources. He has not copy pasted the work from any other student's assessment. It was his own work to a greater extent. And if you say it's a 90% similarity or 100% similarity, it's a kind of copy paste, an exact copy paste or an exact photocopy of another web resource or another student assessment. So that's what Turnitin does, and Turnitin helps us to give feedback. Turnitin helps us to put rubric, and you can mark the assessment. Now GradeScope goes one step ahead, and it helps in designing assessments for the instructors. So instructors can use GradeScope to design the assessment and then put the assessment onto the platform. Student can open the assessment, do the assessment, and then get a get the feedback and marking. So it helps in accelerating the marking, it helps in unbiased grading, and it presents meaningful statistics to identify the trends and the needs of the student. So recently, Gradescope was acquired by Turnitin. So Turnitin thought, okay, we are just looking at the similarity percentage to find out if the student has copied the work. But Gradescope is going a bit, a step ahead to design assessment, do the marking, provide a, constructive feedback, and so on. So why not get that, as a part of ours? So Turnitin actually acquired Gradescope, and both these has to be integrated into the LMS. So this becomes, a kind of requirement. So if you want to use one of these tools, then it's important that you need to have a learning management system. So either Moodle, Blackboard, Canvas, and I think when it comes to online learning, this is a requirement. So you need to adopt to one of the learning management system. And once you have a learning management system, so learning management system has got a lot of, that's where you put all your lecture materials, any kind of assessments, any kind of tutorial task for the students. Everything goes onto the learning management system, and student, if they have an internet connection, they can access the materials from anywhere, anytime, on any device. So that's how the learning management system works. So if you have a learning management system, you can have Gradescope and Turnitin onto the learning. It can be integrated. It has to be integrated. Only then they will work. So you can't simply work with Gradescope or simply work with Turnitin. You have to put that, you have to integrate that onto the LMS, the learning management system. So that's just that's just an image I took from the Gradescope website. So that's how it looked like, and all these are the universities which is using Gradescope. So now Gradescope is a part of Turnitin. So once you get the Turnitin, Gradescope also comes along with that as a tool. So it helps in delivering and grading your assessments anywhere. So, reducing the burden of the instructors, at the same time helping the instructors to focus more on individual students. And these are some of the benefits of Gradescope when it comes to, it is modernizing traditional grading. For example, when you take the field of mathematics, so you have the student assignment, it actually breaks down the mark for each and every step, because when it comes to mathematics, students have an advantage of step marks, right? So for each and every step, you do allocate a mark. So you don't really only look at the final answer, you go step after step and then do the marking. So Gradescope itself allocates that step marks, and the instructor just have to follow those marks. And as the instructor populates those marks, it will add up the marks and provide the feedback accordingly. So that's a kind of constructive feedback provided by Gradescope, and streamlining the workflow. So you go one after the other. Put the assessment, get the assessment to be done by the student, and then start marking the assessment with the breakdown. Provide the, once the breakdown is done, it Gradescope has its rubric, and according to the rubric, it will give the feedback, and then the marking is done for the student. So it's actually streamlining the workflow and also promotes student equity. So there is no kind of, partiality. So we have this, common term back home. It's a very, common term. Oh, that teacher is partial towards her. This teacher is partial towards the other one. She is not giving me marks. She gave 1 mark for her that step, and she did not give me the mark for the same step. I did whatever she did, but she didn't give me marks, but she gave her marks. So this kind of quotes come from the students, and it's quite normal, when we have that big group of students. So if the teacher don't like me, she doesn't give me mark. If the teacher like that student, she gives a mark. So all these kind of conflicts arises. Although we don't do that, it comes in the, it's a kind of mindset in the students, right? So it just comes. So this can be overcome when it comes to this kind of tool based marking, and scoring flexibility, providing meaningful feedback, and systemizing the grade patterns, and accelerating the feedback loops as well. So you don't really have to sit and write the feedback based on the marks. It will be done by the tool itself. It will be done by the system itself, because the rubric will be automatically loaded onto the system when you are putting up the assessment. And then we have Hug, which is a library assistant. So basically, when it comes to this tool, it's opted by big universities where the libraries goes building after building. So when I was doing my PhD at Sydney Uni, I never go to the library. I hate going to the library because if you go and then it takes hours together to come out of the library, because you spend the whole time searching for one book. So that's, for me, that's a kind of tedious task. So I hate going to the libraries. If I would have had such an intelligent, robot with me, I would have been happy to go to the library at least like twice or thrice in a day to find out how that tool is working. You just have to simply go and talk to that tool. You just need to tell the, name of the book, and it will, and possibly the author's name as well. It will quickly go to the shelf. It will take the book for you. It will take you, you can walk along with the robot and you get the book from the shelf, and it will literally assist you by walking with you to go to the shelf and get the book and come back. And that way, what it is doing, it's helping a user to quickly find any book with the help of voice search and navigation, and it helps to move through the library. So as I said, it physically takes you to the location of the book, and it speaks with you like a normal person. So that's where all this natural language processing, speech recognition, everything is coming into picture. Okay, so these tools are using NLP, natural language processing. It's using speech recognition. So all subfields of artificial intelligence to get that task done. And it's enhancing the user experience. So the developers think that this kind of a robot can be helpful in hospitals as well, where it can guide the visitors and also give useful information. So basically, if we have anyone in the hospital and if you are going as a visitor, we have to go to the reception, check with them. They look at the ward or the room number, and then they tell us. So if you quickly go to this information robot, you just ask for it, and then it provides you the location. It even takes you to that particular location by walking physically with you. So that's another tool. So mainly used in big libraries, depending on how much of collection you have and how hard it is to control with staffs, with that many number of staffs. If that is a scenario, then these kind of tools will be really helpful. So that's how the robot looks like. I just took this image from one of the YouTube videos. I have put the link there as well. So when I was when I was looking at this tool to create the presentation, to develop the presentation, I was just going to see and going to that web resource and seeing how the tool was actually working. So just to summarize everything here. So that way I took this one. So it looks nice. Okay, and the next one is IV.ai. So this is the chatbot. So this is what I told you. I was telling about an example of chatbot, and I told that chatbot do have limitations. If you're going to write like long questions and ask for an answer, the chatbot will be confused. And then the next question it will ask is, do you want me to assist with a service agent? And then we have to say, yes, please. Because it can't understand, it can understand only to a certain extent, only if the questions are short, sweet, and simple. If we go over that, it will not be able to understand what the question is all about. And then it will quickly say, when it can't understand, it will quickly say, do you want me to help you with a human assistant or a agent or a service agent, something like that? Because I know this because when I was working with Proctoru, I was managing the exams, online exams, using Proctoru. As I told you before, we used it in our institution. So I was working with Proctoru, and whenever I have issues with anything on Proctoru, for example, setting it up, setting the exam guidelines, setting the exam rules on Proctoru, because we have to set the rules, and then the proctor will act according to that rules. So if I say no web resource allowed, no books allowed, then the proctor will stop the student from having any material on the exam table. It will check the entire exam table. So you have to take your device and you have to move around the entire table to show the proctor, to show the the machine, which is the proctor, to show the machine that there is nothing around in your table. And it will take control of your mouse, and it will close all the tabs on your device. For example, you are taking the exam on your LMS. So what it will do is it will just open the LMS, and rest of all the other tabs on your device will be closed. So it will take control of your mouse. So for example, I am having the control of my mouse now. Once the exam starts, what will happen is, until it checks the entire environment, it will take the device will take the control of the mouse, and it will start closing all the other web pages. It will go one by one. It will start closing all the other web pages, and it will look at the desktop to see any other documents have been opened, and it will close everything. And once it closes everything, you are not allowed to open any other tabs except the LMS tab where you're going to do the exam. So that's how Proctoru works. So when I was working with this Proctoru, I had questions, a lot of questions, right? And it was the first time we implemented that. So because we had a lot of questions, I had to go and go for the live chat. And if I have I just put the technical terms, for example, scheduling exams. So if I do that, it will ask me another question. And if I cannot relate to that question and I change the question, it will not understand my question, and it will say, do you want me to help you with a service agent? And then I say, yes, please. And then there will be another human proctor coming and taking over to ask questions to us and to clarify our doubts and so on. So here I would say that chatbots do have their own limitations, because uh, any application, it does have its limitation. You can only simulate them to a certain extent, but it does help to a certain extent. That's what we have to say here. Especially when the environment of your education is changing. It's no more face-to-face. We can't rely on face-to-face. We have to rely on web-based teaching. Then in these cases, this kind of chatbots are really important. For example, iv.ai. So iv.ai. So what it has got, so it has got a chatbot like this. All right, the student can ask any question related to scholarships. It can ask any questions related to work and study. So for example, I think this example here, it's taking the current scenario which is happening here. For example, if a student comes with a student visa, the student is allowed to work only 20 weeks per hour. The student cannot work more than 20 weeks, because the main reason for the student to come here is for study purpose. So the focus should be studying rather than working. So that's what is called as the work study structure. The grants allowed, for example, scholarship or something like that. The loans that are allowed from the institution. Some institutions do give educational loans. Some institutions give scholarships. And SAP guidelines is satisfactory academic progress. So if a student want to have scholarship, the student need to have a satisfactory academic progress. For example, he is doing one semester with 4 subjects, and if he failed 2 subjects and cleared only other 2, he will not be applicable for a scholarship in the next semester. So that's a kind of scenario happening here. When a student enrolls in a university for the first time, he should finish his first semester with 4 subjects or 5 subjects, and out of the 4 subjects, he should have completed, or he should have passed a maximum of those subjects, and only then he will be applicable for a scholarship. Otherwise he cannot get a scholarship. So that's called as satisfactory academic progress. So the chatbot can provide information about that. It can help with refunds, it can help with tuition payments and other specific procedures or other specific information. But as I said, this is the only. And if it is about IT, it can provide information about installing applications, setting up printers. So if the individual, let it be a student or an instructor, if they have these kind of questions, then these chatbots will be helpful. So that's another tool. And then we have Newton Alta. This is also a platform like Gradescope, but Gradescope basically looks only at assessments, but Newton's Alta looks at the entire courseware. So this is more or less similar to a learning management system, but it is not a learning management system. So it has to be integrated with the learning management system to improve personalized learning. So it can optimize the way the students study and learn by completing the assignment. So it again looks at individual student, the way they are completing the assignment. If it sees that the student is struggling with a particular assignment, then it will focus more on that student and improves the student outcome. So this is another way of achieving student mastery in learning. So how he has improved, how a particular student can improve the capability of learning. Okay, so that's what I said. When a student is struggling when it comes to completing an assignment or doing an assessment, Newton's Alta is a tool which uses adaptive technology, which can diagnose that a particular student is struggling, and it knows how that knowledge gap can be filled. So it actually helps the instructor to provide additional knowledge to that particular student through the courseware that is provided by Newton's Alta. So courseware in the sense, the complete collection of study material. So it could be any kind of study material. It could be lecture notes. It could be, other guided materials. It could be additional notes provided by the instructors. So they just have to upload everything onto this platform, and once the students start doing the assessment, the system itself will monitor the student, and it will provide the information with the it will share the information with the student which has been provided by the instructor. So in this case, even if the instructor misses a student for a period of time, Newton Alta platform will take over, and it will start managing the student. It will start to diagnose the struggle of the student and help the student with the necessary material. So as I said, we have 60 students. We can't focus on all the 60 students at the same time. We were having these limitations, but now we have some tools which is going to assist us. So it doesn't mean that we are being put down, we are going down in our performance. It doesn't mean that. We are just enhancing our efficiency by adopting these tools. So that's how you positively take it. So when I say, oh, use these tools, it helps in this one, it helps in that one, it's not like, oh, you can't do it, you just have to use these tools. It's not like that. It's not a judgment. It's about saying that, okay, we are in an environment where we can't focus on student, especially in such a situation where we have this online learning. So we are in such a situation, so it is necessary that we accompany these tools in order to increase our efficiency to work on students. Otherwise our students will be lost. We will not be able to track their performance, because we don't have a connection, we don't have a possible connection now. The link is broken to a greater extent. So we need the help of these tools to so it's a kind of someone to tell us that, okay, look, that student is not performing well, you have to focus on that student. And how that comes to our focus? It's with the help of these platforms. Okay. And then Proctoru, I think this is the last one which I want to talk about. So this is an invigilation software. It's an invigilation tool. As I told you, we used it in our last semester final exams. We had almost like 90 exams running. So and all of these exams were online exams, and we had to use Proctoru because we had to run almost 7,000 exams. So we need to have a Proctoru. Previous semester, the one before that, we used Zoom based invigilation. It was effective to a certain extent, but what happens is we will not be able to look at the LMS page of the student. We can see the student through the camera, but what's the student doing on the other side? Apart from LMS, what other tabs he has opened, what different resources is looking at, how can we monitor that, how can we know that the student is not cheating, how can we be sure that the student is not cheating? So all these were a kind of requirement when we were doing the Zoom based. We couldn't overcome that. So in order to overcome those kind of limitations, we thought of implementing Proctoru. It was success to a certain extent. Why I'm saying to a certain extent? Because in our university, we have like 90% of them are Nepali student, and the remaining 5% of them are Indians, and 2 to 3 percentage like Aussies or from people from US or other migrants, and the rest of them are like Chinese. So it's a mixed collection, right? It's a mixed collection. And when it comes to the studies, most of them were like offshore students. They got stuck. They went on a vacation, and because of the pandemic they got stuck there and they couldn't come back, and they had to continue with online learning. So, and this Proctoru, it actually has a requirement that we have to put all the exams on Proctoru. Okay, we have to upload all the exams on Proctoru, and the students have to schedule the exam before 48 hours. Only then they will be able to sit for the exam. So some students missed to schedule the exam. Some students did not have proper electricity in India, Nepal, the electricity shutdown is quite a familiar thing. So because of that, the students were not able to do the exam, and because of poor internet connection, they were not able to do the exam. So the system went very well with local students, whoever were in Sydney, whoever were in Australia, but with students in Nepal, with students in India who were stuck there and who were doing the online learning, the system did not work properly because it required high internet speed connection, electricity, of course, a requirement, and some of the students, they missed to schedule the exam. They were not able to schedule the exam for some reason. So we had to take those students and have them on another type of exam. But we did have an experience of using Proctoru. So if we are using Proctoru, and if we have all these kind of electricity, no electricity shutdown, good internet connection, then Proctoru is one of the best solution. I would tell you, we can trust that it's one of the best solution, because you can see what the student is doing. You literally sit and see what the student is doing. Even if the student is going to move this way or that way, the system will hold that and it will flag. It will send a report to the academic teaching staff. Whoever is, whosoever contact has been given to the team, it will send a report. Okay, this student did this in the exam. We do not trust this, student, exam attempt. Sometimes if the student is not listening to the proctor, the online invigilator, which is the machine or which is any device. So if the student is not listening, and if the student is trying to behave the same way, it will close the exam, it will shut down the exam, it will not allow the student to proceed further, and it will send a report saying that the student did not listen more than a couple of times, so we had to shut down the exam. So this is what we need, because we are not there. It's not face-to-face exams. We couldn't go move around and invigilate. We couldn't get hold of students who are cheating. We couldn't get hold of students who have got those bit papers with them to help them in the exam. We can't do that. So these tools do help us when it comes to this kind of learning environment. So for Proctoru, I'm talking from my experience because I do know how the system works. We have used it, but with the other systems, I had to play around a bit just to make a presentation, just to share that information with you. But if you get a chance, I think this needs to have a second thought. You need to think twice, and then it's not like, oh, okay, we have looked at the tools, okay, I'm not sure if it's going to work, something like that. But we have to really think that this is a requirement and we need to adopt it in order to emerge as a better education environment. So with the current the current pandemic, I don't know when this pandemic will end. There is no full stop. It's always like comma and it keeps on adding one variant, second variant, third variant, fourth variant. I don't know how many variants and how long we are going to survive with this one. Are we going to get that facility of face to face learning anymore? So all these are a question mark, and when these are a question mark, it's these tools or a combination of these tools that is coming to save our profession, and that is coming to save our students, and that is going to help our help in increasing our efficiency. So that's I think that's the end of the list of the tools. So to conclude, these AI applications, it's not a full stop. It's not a full stop. These applications will do keep on increasing, like it'll come one after the other. And why it's coming one after the other? Because of the increasing demands. There is something happening around in each and every business organization, and they are looking for new and new emergence in digital expertise. And as long as they keep looking for it, it will have its evolution. The applications will keep evolving. And at the same time, it does increase the efficiency of the process through a lot of automation with a greater accuracy than humans. Although it's all about human intelligence, we do say that machines, provide greater accuracy, right? And it's always within quotes, machines provide greater accuracy. But as far as the belief is concerned, it's a twofold. It's a kind of 50-50, or let it be 60-40 or 40-60. So some of them believe it will replace humans, while some of them go with the fact that nothing can replace human minds. So that's the percentage. That's how the reality is about when it comes to applying artificial intelligence in any field. All right. So with that, I'm coming to a conclusion. So I'm just quickly, I missed to delete that. Okay. These are some of the references which I thought, it's a good thing to share. So as I was, getting ready with the presentation, I happened to go and watch some of the videos to see how the system is actually working, what is all of, because it's not that just because I'm talking about these tools, it doesn't mean that I have used all these tools. We do have some of them. We normally use Moodle LMS as an LMS. I have worked with Canvas. I have worked with Blackboard. But when I was doing, a contract teaching, I was working for different places. So that time I have used Moodle, I have used Canvas, I have used Blackboard. So with these tools, it is necessary that it has to be integrated onto your LMS. So now I'm a full-time staff, and I'm working on Moodle. I'm working with Moodle. So that's my LMS. And any tool that we are listing here, it has to be integrated onto the LMS for us to work with it and for us to get its better efficiency. So I thought it's good to share these resources. Sometimes it might help. So when we are trying to think that, okay, if it is a requirement, we have to go for it, then I think these sort of resources will be helpful. And that's the end of my presentation. Thanks again for the opportunity. Questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the thought-provoking and informative session, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. I
For the
hope it was not boring.
it was very informative, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
It's time for the participants to ask your questions. You can unmute and ask your questions, or you can post it in the chat box. Ma'am, there's a question from Dr. K. Dhanalakshmi, ma'am. How do
Okay.
mathematics play a role in artificial intelligence?
Everything is mathematics in artificial intelligence. There is no artificial intelligence without mathematics.
Okay,
It's
thank
all
you.
about logics. It's all about logic. And if you think about logic, maths takes its first place. To be honest, when I got this invitation, as a resource person, I was discussing with Antonita that I would like to take cyber security and talk about that. Then I thought, okay, cyber security, application security, information security, what it has got to do with a department of mathematics hosting a FDP program. That was when I changed my mind to talk about, okay, AI tools in education, because AI is all about mathematics. There is no AI without mathematics.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question, ma'am.
Yeah.
Among the AI tools, which do you think is the best for education, ma'am? We were discussing a lot on AI tools for education, and what do you, in your personal opinion, what do you think is the best for education?
I think, basically, two tools which I would like to have is, if at all we are planning, if somebody asks me from my organization as an opinion, I would definitely go with Great Scope.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Ma'am, a participant is Aishwarya.
Yes, yes, I can see the question. Will AI
Yes,
help in secure banking transactions? Yes.
yes,
One of
yes.
the application of AI is identifying unauthorized transactions. So that way, when you say, what is an unauthorized transaction, right? So when someone else is, using your credit card or your debit card to perform a transaction, that's what is called as an unauthorized transaction. But when we figure that out, what are we doing? We straight away call the bank and we notify them, and we don't really know what the bank is doing at the other end, right? So the assumption here would be they are having some sort of tools to identify those type of a transaction. So what they do is they straight away go and cancel your card, or they try to give you a new card with a different number. So it works for identifying unauthorized transactions. That's one of the most important use of AI application in banking.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Yeah,
you.
another question, can the data collected using AI be used in research field? Will it match the reality? See, basically, you collect data, but when it comes to using that data for AI, there is a lot of analysis done. So you are because AI uses both structured data and unstructured data. So structured data has got some predefined formats. You can use them straight away, but unstructured data doesn't have any predefined format. You have to clean and process the data, which is done with the help of data analysis tools, and then only you will be able to use that data. So not all the data that you are getting can be used directly. You might be in a position to use some data analysis tools in order to process, clean, and then use the data wherever necessary. So it's not a pretty straightforward process. It's a complicated process. It goes through different phases. The data processing, data analysis goes through different stages. It's not like one single go. It's a lot of processing involved.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, how will AI change the future in all fields, ma'am? I mean,
It's already
I don't want to.
changing.
Yes, ma'am. I don't
It's
want you to
already
elaborate.
changing.
Just a little specific. Specifically, you can say something
That
which you
that's
think.
what I said. It's already changing. It's just that we are not aware.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was
Yes.
I was not aware of. To be honest, I don't know a field of AI existed until I was doing my Master of Computer Applications second year. I didn't know that there was a field of AI.
Okay.
So
Yes. Yes.
AI was taking its precedence. It was playing a role from that age, from
Yes.
somewhere in 1998 2000. As far as I know, I don't know when did it start. But I just came to know about AI when I got, that as a, a subject in my second year of MCA. That's when I got to know, oh, AI. And to be honest, to start with, it was not interesting at all. It was so boring. It was a lot of algorithms. It was a lot of logic to play around. I didn't like it. But then, once you start understanding the importance of a particular field, and when once you dig deeper into it, that's when you get to know how extensive it is. And we can't say that just because I talked about AI, you are interested in AI. I can't say that. It's just a 1 hour talk. What would have changed? Nothing would have changed for some of them. They would have simply gone through the slides. They would have simply been sitting there. What this lady is talking, I don't really understand what's happening. But it depends, it actually needs a sort of interest. That's what I thought, when we take that education, when I separate that education, then you will be more focused. That's why that was my main motivation, to separate education from different business fields. AI has got its applications in lot of fields, but why did I just pick education? Because that's where we are. I'm pretty sure you will have that 10% interest to know, okay, what is AI doing for education? What has AI done for education? What we have in education with the help of AI. So you will be having that at least 10% of interest. So that's why I separated education and started and, thought of talking about that rather than talking about applications of AI in a very general perspective.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Any other questions from the participants? You can put it in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic and you can ask the question to the resource person.
Um, there is a question whether these tools are open source. No, they are not open source. It needs licensing. They are not open source. It comes under a contract agreement, and both the institution, like, for example, you're planning to have grade scope, you need to work with the grade scope team, and then you need to set up a contract as to how because it is going to be integrated onto your LMS, so it will be charged accordingly. So it's not a kind of open source software. It's proprietary. Yeah.
Any other questions, participants?
So, for example, I would like to talk about Proctoru again because I have used it. So, when we plan to use Proctoru, Proctoru has three different type of proctoring. One is live Proctoru, one is live plus, the second one is review plus, and the third one is record plus. So we used only review plus for our exams because we had to run 7,000 something exams, like 7,000 in number, and they charged like $12 per exam using review plus. So when it comes to these three types, it's just the difference is just with the type of reports that's sent by the team. So for every exam they will send us a report. So when we, depending on what type of method we are using, there is a difference in the report they are sending. So some reports will have video clips, some reports will not have video clips. So if you are using review plus, we don't have video clips, we just have a written report. If it is record plus or if it is live plus, we have video reports. So we had these three options. So for a record plus, they charged $6 per student, and for record plus, they charged, I think, $18 something, and for live plus it was $16 per student. So we went only with review plus because it was a less of a charge, and it was the first time we were using. We didn't want to take a risk of putting a lot of money there and then playing around. So we went with the minimum one. So as I said, each software, depending on what you are looking for, it has got its own charges. So before you get the software into play, the team actually works with you. So for example, if you want to have something, the team of whatever tool you're looking for, they will work with you, and they will come under a set of terms and conditions.
Any other questions, participants?
No, there is no need of faculty involved in proctoring. You can just leave the exam on your, you can just leave the exam as it is. The only thing you have to do is put the exams on Proctoru and they will take it from there. They will do rest of the job for you. There is no need of faculty involvement. And they will send the report of the exams to you. Once the exam is done, they will send the report for each and every exam, for each and every student, along with the recording of the exam, the video recording of the exam. So you can see what the student has been doing. You can see how the student has been behaving. You will get a chance to see that. For example, if you have like 60 students for a subject, and if they are sitting for the exam, you will get that 60 reports of those 60 students for that particular exam. And you don't have to worry about the exam at all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the clarifications, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I will praise the name of God with a song. I will magnify him with thanksgiving. Psalm 69:30. With a profound heart, I thank Dr. Smitha Shankar for finding time amidst her busy schedule and sharing her knowledge with us on the most happening topic of AI with us. And from the bottom of my heart, my sincere thanks to you, ma'am, once again. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so kind.
I thank all the participants for their enthusiastic participation and I wish all goodness. And let us all meet tomorrow at 5 p.m. for the fifth and last day of this FDP program. Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once
Thanks
again.
again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you.